Greetings! Our movie today is Franco Zeffirelli's 1968 version of Romeo and Juliet. On nearly everyone's top list of Shakespeare movie adaptations, and for some, it stands their favorite, which is no small task, going against directors or actors such as Laurence Olivier and Kenneth Branagh. This was Zeffirelli's second Shakespeare adaptation, having released The Taming of the Shrew with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton just the year before, in 1967. Now, for the two of you watching who do not know the story of Romeo and Juliet...
Oh, there's only two people who don't know.
No. Of all the people watching, I think there are probably only two who don't know the story of Romeo and Juliet, because let's be honest, if you don't know the story of Romeo and Juliet, you were homeschooled and did not go to high school and see a high school play, because that's the way it worked. Everybody did Romeo and Juliet.
I would argue if you were homeschooled, you definitely saw Romeo and Juliet.
Oh, that's true, because you got a better education if you were homeschooled normally. So I see your point.
In many cases, yes.
I see your point. Okay, well, for the two of you who grew up on a small island and are just now learning about British literature, Romeo and Juliet is about two star-crossed lovers who, as a result of the interference of their feuding families, they struggle and fail to end up together. So yes, I honestly am a huge fan.
That's your synopsis. They struggle and fail to end up together. You could have just done, like, you know, the opening prologue. There's two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene. From ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous all throes do, with their death, bury the parents' strife. The fearful passage of the death-marked love and the continuance of the parents' rage, which, but the children's end, naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage. The which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. They literally give the synopsis of the story at the top of the movie.
I was being succinct. I was leaving the metaphor and alliteration and simile to you. But,
fine, fair enough. It is my job here.
Yes, it is. I was downplaying it to make you look better.
You know what? I know there's a reason I like you. And not just simply because you keep me supplied in coffee. He doesn't.
Oh my. Okay, well, I personally am a huge fan. I think it was... I agree with a lot of people who say that it is their favorite Shakespeare adaptation, and I've got to say, honestly, it's mine as well. I mean, Romeo and Juliet and Hamlet are probably the two most popular Shakespeare plays.
I'd argue Macbeth is in there.
They are. Yeah, true. But and you know, I'm not saying that Romeo and Juliet is my favorite Shakespeare play. It's not, honestly. But as far as the adaptation, I really think they just nailed it. I mean, the characters, the look, the feel. So much of it worked for me. And the music. I mean, everything. The cinematography. It was filmed on location in Italy. I mean, come on. You're just so many things they had going for it. And Zeffirelli, while he does have his own style as a director, I think this really worked well with his style.
For junior high and high school students, this is often the first exposure that they have to the works of William Shakespeare. And I use the word exposure quite deliberately in this case. But I just wanted to see how Andrew...
Oh, do you think that's a good thing? I mean, do you think that is the best way to expose somebody to Shakespeare through Romeo and Juliet? Or would you rather go a different way?
Oh, no. Romeo and Juliet is absolutely one of your best early exposures to Shakespeare, especially if it is happening in the junior high or early high school years, because they are characters, the protagonists, not side characters, but the protagonists of the story are people your age, people you can emotionally identify with.
Very good point.
And as such, you put it into that mindset. Everything that happens in Romeo and Juliet is both understandable, relatable, and then sadly inevitable. Because you have hormonal people making life and death situational choices Because when you are 13 to 17 years old, everything does feel life and death. My life is over! Well, yeah, okay, cool. I mean, that's how you feel when you can't call someone, or when your internet gets shut off. And mine was shut off for the last few days, and my life was over. But it's back, and so am I.
Also, having overbearing parents. That's a thing.
Absolutely. Everyone can relate to that, especially teenagers, but then also nearly everybody has relatively clear memories, no matter how much they try to push them down, of what it was like to be 13 to 17 years old. And it makes so much more sense. You can relate. And everyone romanticizes Romeo and Juliet. I think that is a fallacy that shouldn't be done. Romeo and Juliet is a cautionary tale. Don't let the kids make all the decisions. And parents, make better ones. Come on.
That's a very good point.
It is absolutely one of the best ways to introduce young people to the works of William Shakespeare, if they're in that age category. If they're a little bit younger, I'd say go with one of the comedies, or even a fun tragedy, such as Macbeth. Macbeth is a fun one to introduce to fifth graders. They're like, oh my God, give me more of this senseless violence. All right, let's do. But Romeo and Juliet, they are people they can identify with, and that is the important thing.
Interesting. I totally see that.
Never say in 4 words what you can say in 3.5 minutes. That's my motto.
Well, how close to the play do you think the movie was? I mean, to me, it seemed like it was. I mean, there were some changes and some location changes and some liberties, but they were minor. And I overall, I thought it was a very faithful adaptation. What did you think?
It's incredibly faithful, partly because they had the budget to make it look good. They had the location ability to make it look good. And Zeffirelli is a romantic, and they were able to play it as such. It is a beautiful romance until it becomes a tragical romance. And it all boils down effectively to Juliet being incredibly, heavily influenced by her cousin Tybalt, who is the only one, textually, who wants all of the madness to continue. And then Romeo, being, frankly, a stupid, horny teenager, is influenced by his girlfriend come wife to escalate things as much as he does then. So that's the tragical romance of it. But I feel it's incredibly faithful in both text and in spirit.
All right.
I think the spirit is the thing when you're making adaptations that you have to be most faithful to. Does this feel like this show?
And I think it does.
And I think it does.
Now, I think Zeffirelli was in a great situation because the year before he'd released The Taming of the Shrew with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. Huge hit in the box office. I mean, of course, I think it was as much to do with Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton and their chemistry, and they were very popular in the press at that point.
They're on again, off again marriages.
And all of that. So I think that helped a lot. But it gave, when Zeffirelli said, oh, I want to do another Shakespeare adaptation, people were throwing money at him, and the studios were all, yes, do it. And it made it a lot easier to get what he wanted and to see his vision through. So I think that helped a lot. And when creativity is stifled by the money or by the board of directors or whatever, that tends to be a common problem on why movies don't work.
Quite often, yes. But as we so often see, when the creativity gets constrained, if not actively stifled, constrained by the monetary realities, then you can often see something even better happen, something magical happen.
It forces you to be more creative, to compensate, and to think really outside of the box. And yeah, you're right. They can help. But I mean, sometimes it's so stifling where, it's like, oh, Romeo and Juliet, no, we can't afford to send you anywhere. You're going to go to the desert and film it there. I mean, what? I mean, sometimes it gets so ridiculous, it just doesn't work. So that was my point. But no, you're right. Sometimes having limitations on your creativity can help your creativity. I totally agree with that.
Speaking of limits on your creativity, what did you think of Leonard Whiting as Romeo?
I think he worked.
He was okay.
Yeah,
Juliet is far more.
I want to say kind of solid, but a lot of it was his look in his age and the way he spoke and I mean, he hit what he needed to, but
Yes.
it was not. It wasn't anything extraordinary. I think Olivia Hussey as Juliet. She was oh my God, the expressiveness in her face, the emoting.
She's the revelation.
She was, and also the younger actress at the time. Although a huge lie in what her age was. The studio promoted her as being 15, trying to say that she was, about the same age as Juliet in the play. Mm-hmm. And no, she was cast when she was 15, but she was actually well into 16 when they were filming.
Still makes the love scene slightly problematic.
True, but
including by the standards of 1968.
Yes, they had to get a special arrangement with there in Italy to let them film a few of those scenes because of her age. But
put that movie out right now, and all of us are immediately going to jail.
But
Sorry.
To be fair, at the same time, I mean, you look at it; it's very subtle, very quick, and it honestly works. It didn't feel gratuitous to me.
Yep.
I will say that.
Here's how it was gratuitous for me, because it was my also first exposure to Shakespeare when I was in the 7th grade.
That would be a problem.
My English teacher, first off, told us, all right, there's going to be a little bit of nudity in this. I feel all of you can handle it. It's just a quick shot. Mm-hmm. But then, pervy man that he apparently proved himself to be, he paused it.
Wow.
Yep. So,
Naturally.
for the titillation of, that's a fun word, of 12 and 13-year-olds is like, yay!
Yes.
For any adult in the room, it's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
a little bit.
I did not see this movie in high school. I didn't see it until later.
Really?
Yes, I somehow, probably going to the all-boys Catholic high school was a factor there.
I would have thought that would have guaranteed that you see it.
You would think, but no. I think the English teachers were actually not priests for me. A lot of the others were, but the English teachers weren't. So I think they were trying to keep their job.
All right.
So
whereas if it had been a Jesuit priest as your English teacher,
yeah.
Oh my God, it was like, we're watching Romeo and Juliet and it's going to be fantastic. And then he would have brought out a foil and gone, ha! Ha! Ha ha! That's what he would have done.
He would have paused it right at that scene and then gone through a long discussion of how bad women's breasts are for men.
Oh.
Yes.
Or would he have said, ha! Yeah,
possibly. But
that's
no, I think it's also interesting to note that with only one exception, all of the actors in here really did not have amazing careers. I mean, some of them got work and did some things, but not. Olivia Hussey did a couple of notable, kind of known films after this, and then that was it. She's mainly done voice acting for the last 25 years or so.
She was also Mary, the mother of Jesus, in Jesus of Nazareth. Fantastic miniseries from the late 70s.
True, that's one of them. The other one is Murder on the Orient Express, I believe, right?
That's right, she was in the
original.
original.
No, not that one. She was on Death on the Nile, I think it was.
Oh, but she did do Murder on the Orient Express.
She did do Murder? Was it Murder? Okay.
You know what? This is so easily verifiable, and yet, not gonna.
Yeah. But yeah, she did that, and those
Let's
are like
just
the two
say she
things.
was in it.
Those are like the two
Prove
things.
me wrong, Internet. Prove me wrong.
But yeah, she's in one of those popular Agatha Christie movies later. But it was still, that was it. After that, not so much. Leonard Whiting, no. I mean, the others, no. It really was not. Nobody had a phenomenal career over this, except, of course, Michael York.
Oh yeah, and this was his second Shakespearean film.
Yeah, he was in the original, the one right before, the Zeffirelli Taming of the Shrew.
Taming of the Shrew, as Lucentio.
Yes.
Working with Zeffirelli, he was a favorite.
Yes, and
that was his very first film, by the way.
And he did a great job in this film too. I mean, I thought he really knocked it out of the park, and it went.
As Tybalt. Whenever I hear the line, "Oh wretched boy, I am for you," I only hear Michael York.
Yes.
because he is Tybalt.
Yes, he did such a great job.
He's so great.
And then he went on to The Three Musketeers, and of course Logan's Run, and
and
Austin
let us
Powers,
not forget
if
the
you're
Austin
recent.
Powers.
Yeah.
There you have it.
Yeah, Austin
Powers. He did an episode of Babylon 5.
Oh yes, he after he was popular in the 70s. After that, he didn't quite make it in the 80s as much. He mostly did a lot
Yes, he did. He was in the Thornbirds. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but it's TV. He mostly did TV and things like that afterwards. He did
Well,
movies, not so much.
And your attitude right there shows that you have the same attitude as many studios and also actors of the time period. And you're like, yeah, but that was TV. Because of the class system between TV actors and film actors. It's just like, no, you can't cast him, he's a TV person, or no, you can't cast him, etc. Movie people could go over to TV, but not as easy the other way around.
I know, and it's a shame. Because
it really is.
I think he deserved more. I think he fell into that category where people, he got into TV and people just kept him there. And I think it was unfair. I totally agree with that. But I just think that it's unfortunate because he peaked in the 70s, really, in my mind, as far as movies go. And I should make that clear. Still an amazing actor, and he deserves.
But he is still working. He is still working to this day, though.
He's working consistently and doing a great job.
Wonderful.
I have trouble thinking of a movie or TV show that he's done that has been a disappointment. I mean, he always brings his A game. I mean, even if the TV show is not great, his performance is solid to great.
I will give you. I will give you something that is not great though. Mm-hmm. Both the program and his performance. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. My heretofore already mentioned Babylon 5. He was King Arthur in an episode where it was a late arrival. The episode is called A Late Arrival from Avalon, and it's an episode that largely makes no sense. His performance is so extra, and I think it's because that was the direction he was given.
I think he was.
It's like, we want you to be the most Michael York you can be. He's just like, all right, let's do.
They wanted him to come across as totally ridiculous.
And it's just like,
that's the impression
guys,
I got.
You have Michael York, you have an interesting concept on a show that is largely good. Make it all work. No, sorry.
That is a good point. I'll give you that one.
But Michael York, so great.
Yes.
So great.
Now, I do.
And he did his own fencing for that movie.
Yes, he did.
He did his own, yes, he did his own fencing. He largely his own stunts. I think entirely his own stunts for Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, it was fantastic. But going back to the casting of Romeo.
Yes.
What would you have thought if the original choice for Romeo had actually been in the movie?
Who was the original choice?
Paul McCartney.
Oh yes, I did hear about that. No. Because Paul McCartney, there's a thing called acting, and well, Paul McCartney is a phenomenal musician. Acting,
Hard Day's Night.
I mean, for what it was, yeah, but tackling this, I do not see it. I just don't see it. I do not.
All right.
I'm sorry. I just, I mean, I'm not, okay, I'll give you this. He might have done okay. But if you're trying to say, would he have done better than Leonard Whiting? I think his name would have added more to the film, and people would have gone to see it because of him.
Yes.
But as far as the quality of the acting, I don't see it being any better. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. I actually feel that although York was amazing as Tybalt,
oh yeah,
both he and the film would have been better served by him being Romeo.
I agree with that 100%. I think that would have been an interesting choice. Although I don't know what the chemistry between him and Olivia Hussey would have been. Because I will say that Whiting and Hussey, they did have good chemistry together.
They did.
I've got to hand it to them there. I don't know if that was, I'm sure that was part of the casting process for them, but I know Olivia Hussey in her autobiography said that Zeffirelli admitted later that he was totally in love with her at the time in a very inappropriate way. Didn't do anything about it, but just he had that, you know, he just, I know.
Why did you just ruin the movie for me?
I'm sorry. I
mean, my 7th grade English teacher nearly ruined the movie for me retroactively with the remembrance of, oh yeah, he did that. And now,
hey.
I'm leaving
This is how I look at it. You know, feelings.
I'm leaving.
I always look at it as feelings are whatever. I mean, they just happen. It's how you react to them that's important. He did nothing about it, so okay. And honestly, I think it might have helped because the the way that she was filmed in there and so many on the balcony scene and everything was fabulous. The camera loved her, and I think that might have been a factor in there. So I can't really say anything bad about it. Because he didn't act on it, of course. So I think that was a good thing. I really do. Um, but yeah, the chemistry is a big question mark for me. But I really think Olivia Hussey phenomenal in that part. The innocence, the way she responded to emotion and her facial expressions, it was phenomenal. I don't know if they could have done much better at that time, and I'm serious. But I do agree with Michael York. Now, I'm going to talk about the music for a second, and maybe Shakespeare will come back at some point after he's...
No, you ruined the movie for me!
Now, the music was done by Nino Rota, and the wonderful composer, did all the music in there, including the dancing music, the Moresca that they danced. And it was fabulous. It was completely fabulous. I mean, I have heard that tune played at Ren fairs, in multiple Ren fairs, people playing the Moresca, not even knowing that it's not a traditional tune, because it just sounds like it. It's beautiful. It's that da 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 da. It's gorgeous. The music, I always say that the music in a movie is another character, and if it's cast right and if it's acted well and performed well, it can really elevate a scene. It can elevate a movie. And I think that really happened here. I mean, just like in the music in Star Wars elevated that movie into something a lot more than it was, it kind of happened in a different way, but it definitely happened here too. So I'm a huge fan of the music. It's worth it if you appreciate that. Okay, I think Shakespeare's back.
I'm back.
Okay, good. I got him with music. I knew I could.
I realized I had nothing else to go do.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay.
But you are totally correct about the music. I mean, the music itself is a character in this film. And music, as you rightfully point out, with using the example of Star Wars, can make or break a film. It can make it soaring, and it lets you know, when done well, how to feel in a subtle way. When it's done poorly, it tells you how to feel in a very slapdash way. And here it was beautifully, magically done. So if music be the food of love, play on.
Well, I think from what I'm hearing here that we both, if I haven't soured it too much for Shakespeare, that we both really, really like this film, and I'm going to have to give it a full balcony right here.
A full balcony.
Balcony.
That's this week's standard.
Yes.
The balcony. Very good. You know what? I will also give it a balcony, which means we have two balconies way up, both alike in dignity. There's no earthquakes yet in Verona, so they are up there. They are sound architecture. They are up here. The balcony's not crumbling. It is not some sad facade coming off. It's not a balcony for show. It's a balcony for dough.
So excellent.
Not sure that last line made sense, but I said it strongly.
You did.
Ah.
So I think, definitely a recommendation. You should watch this film. If you want to introduce yourself to Shakespeare, this is a good film to start with.
Yes.
It's a lovely story. It's full of cliches, but not because it itself is a cliche. It's because it started the cliches that were made afterwards.
All of them.
Originated.
All of them.
It originated them. It's not its fault.
Yes.
It deserves the recognition. So go watch this. And always a pleasure, Shakespeare. And we will...
Cheers.
We will see you next week.
Yes, on Shakespeare Cinema Spectacular! It's not Shakespeare's Reviews.
It's Shakespeare Reviews. It's Shakespeare Reviews.
Oh, like you're editing the show and can control things.
Obviously, from what we've seen so far, I can't control everything, but we'll see what we can do.
Cheers.
Well, this has been another great show. Will, you've got to at least tell people where we can find you. Come on.
Oh, well, I'm right here, right now. But if you want to find me in the else places, the other stuff, basically online, you want to find me, and I know you do, go and follow me on Instagram, Shakespeare.approves on Instagram. I'm other places too, but that's the one I'm going to talk about today. Andrew, what about you?
Well, for me, definitely find me at lifesaffair.com and facebook.com/lifesaffair. That's where you can find everything about Life's Affair, which if you're watching this show, well, you probably know about that already. But if you like me, you can find me at theirishbard.com.
And don't forget to support our Patreon, patreon.com/lifesaffair. You want to give us money? I know you do. That's a way to do it.
We do, definitely support us on Patreon because we want to keep doing this show for as long as possible, once a week, just.
Thanks very much for watching. Cheers.